Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another USDJPY market recap and analysis. Today, I believe, is episode 13, and it is a Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. And today, no trade again, but I've seen some pretty nice setups, and I did actually watch the market today, and I didn't get to fully, set up a trade. I didn't see anything that I liked the time that I was watching it, but I did sort of predict what happened in a way, so we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's look at the news. So today we had nothing that, has any sort of numbers where we can go, all right, so the actual number, affects the currency in this way, that. But we had US President Trump, talk today this morning at 5 a.m. So let's have a look at what price did at 5 a.m. Something happened at 5 a.m. today? Nothing. Price went down a little bit during Trump's speech. I'm thinking like barely. It really was just continuing on what it was doing, but anyways. And then as for the rest of news, we have news 15 minutes into US market open. So no news, no high impact news by the looks of it today. So when we look at the charts, what happened today? So first, let's go into the daily. Today is Wednesday, and we had another downfall day. As expected, to be honest, I mean, there's not really much else price would do. I mean, we've had our pullback where price can fill more orders so that it can go down yesterday, and it was kind of expected that we would go down. But once we look at the 1 hour, we can kind of get a better story out of this on the 1 hour. So here we are today. We were consistently going down until we hit this nice liquidity point. On the 1 hour, it doesn't look like much, but on the 5 minute and 15 minute as well, price liquidated towards here, this sort of area, 2 times. And I was thinking, alright, price will probably use this point, this recent low from US market. I believe that's US market. I don't trade US market, so I don't know. But we're going to use this low to kind of as a support and as a resistance. And as we can see, I planned that out, and that pretty much should happen. Price broke under that, signaling that we wanted to go lower, but first it had to retest that low twice so that we could go lower. And then there was not really much entries you could dig in here, like we had, break of structure here, but I personally don't like to enter off purely off break of structure, so like there's no 5 minute fair value gaps, nothing like that, until we get here and we break structure again. But then we come back up and then we retest this fair value gap and then we break through it and then we go back down again. So price action wasn't very good today, to be honest. Not for the confluence, not for the strategy that I trade. But it's not to say that market didn't move quite a lot. We had a little bit of movement, but the best setup I could find was off of this change in state of delivery. We had broken structure back up to the upside, looking like we were going to retest this high, but in reality retested this one. So we bounced back up to that, probably taking some orders, grabbing some liquidity, whatever it may be doing. And off of that, we break structure and we test this fair value gap right there. And from there, honestly, it doesn't get better than that. You can grab this fair value gap right here and you wait for the close under it just to guarantee, and then you can place your stop. I personally like the candle above, and from that we can reach for to risk to reward, which is coincidentally right at this sort of key price point, you could say. where we absolutely smash that. And then after smashing that, we can go into another analysis that I had just seen before this video, where we fully change the state and delivery here, where we break this and we go, okay, after doing that, we retrace back into this other fair value gap. You can either, wait for it to close, whatever, and put your stop on the candle above, reaching for 2 risk to reward, which we literally just banged out. So, I mean, the strategy worked, right? Like, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly in depth how to use this strategy in another video. But I'm just gonna go briefly over what I believe makes this so good. Sometimes people think that, they'll look at the daily and they'll go, yes, sweet, we're going down. Yesterday was an uprise, we're probably gonna go back down today. Like, cool, but have you thought to line up your time frames? Like, if you were to just get in on a trade today, on the 5-minute, for example, with the downtrend, just believing that market would go down, which it did, it's like you're not wrong, but like if you were to get off here, thinking that, oh right, price is just gonna go down after we've just smashed that, let's wait for this retest fair value gap, you probably get stopped out here, or well, I personally wouldn't, because the way I trade this strategy, you put our stop above the candle's wick, above it, reaching for 2 risk reward. So it would have worked. But most of the time, people don't want to have an extended stop like that, especially when we're breaking, reversing, inversing that fair value gap. You can probably get stopped out there if you're doing a short stop loss. And then, oh, we have a fair value gap here. We're gonna bounce back down because today we're bearish, smashed. Just completely inversed back into this liquidity area. And then we're going down and we're thinking, all right. Now we're just probably back in an uptrend. We're gonna go up. We accumulate that sort of thing, and then boom, we go down. Like today's price action, like I wouldn't say it was the best up until 7 p.m. today. That's when things really started to line up. But I mean, it would work. But before I started using my daily with the hourly with the 5-minute confluence, you look at your bias for the day with the daily, and then you look at the 1 hour. Does the 1 hour align? Does it align? We had the 1 hour aligning the whole day, but like there was not really any confirmation. And then we go back in here, and then what are we gonna get on off? Like maybe I'm just going off my head, but you can always find an entry. But I just feel like price action today wasn't so favorable as opposed to a Monday. On Monday when I took my trade and you guys saw that, it was a crazy trade. Like Monday's trade was so smooth. Monday's trade was incredibly smooth. Like price tapped into that fair value gap, and right here, and then from there we didn't reach above that point once. We were simply going down and down and down and down. Like that's it. That's all it was. We just went down. Price action was smooth. It was perfect. The whole day our bias was bearish. We could see this. You would be crazy for trading against it. But as opposed to today, we kind of went up and down and then up and down, and then it was still bearish, but I don't know, I guess I'm just going off, babbling on. But if you're able to find a trade today, good luck. I mean, well done. I didn't, because I wasn't on the screen, but honestly, if I had been here for this move, I probably would have caught it. To be honest, this was perfect. Like this right here, chef's kiss, man. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. And especially when our take profit aligns perfectly with a nearby area of liquidity, which is right here. That's pretty much a liquidity sweep. We might even see price reverse after that. But anyways, thank you for listening to me, yap on about what I think and what I don't think. But anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you for watching and tune in for tomorrow. BM Trades out.